Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here today with Dr. Chamberlain, the slayer of disease, the voice of many, MedicCasts. How you doing, brother?
I'm alright, thanks, man. How are you doing?
I'm good, I'm good. I'm super excited because this is like the first one that I ever do, and I'm really, really big into the whole podcast business. I like the idea of,
Yeah.
listening in on conversations that I would never take part of, like Elon Musk or some shit. 'Cause,
I think it's always really interesting to see and to hear from people. I listen. There's one podcast I listen to that they do a would be your dream menu, and it's
oh,
like you pick the dessert, the main course, the starter, and the drink of like your dream menu or that you've had or whatever you'd like. And it's really interesting to hear people's like ideas of what their dream food is. So
okay.
yeah, it sparks discussion in a really cool way. So
Is it something that is like a common occurrence, like in terms of food? Like, is there
what
a
do you mean?
food meta?
Is there food meta? Oh yes. People like skipping either their starter or their dessert. A
Oh,
lot of people are like, "Oh, I don't like desserts. I'll have an extra steak." Or I don't like starters. They're just small main courses. Give me two main courses. That's the kind
oh,
of
okay. So
that's
it's a
the usual.
trade-off.
Yeah.
I thought
But
people were trying to be like, like health conscious when it
oh
comes
no
down
no,
to the dream menu.
it's your dream menu. Why on earth would you be health
Yeah,
conscious? Like
it's
you're
like
not
it's
gonna
not
do
an
it.
opportunity to sound cool and all. It's
No.
like, yeah, I'll have the
Oh
salad.
yeah. I need to watch my waistline in this imaginary restaurant with an imaginary genie bringing me my food.
Exactly, exactly. It's
Uh,
it's kind of weird. Dream menu. What's your dream menu?
oh, is that how we're starting this off? The Yamato experience with my dream menu. Okay. My starter would have to be something like fried and prawny, probably.
Okay.
Fried, I mean, like
So
battered
fried
prawns or
shrimps.
bread, like
Okay.
tempura shrimp. Ooh, delicious.
Okay.
My main course would be a steak of some kind. It'd be medium rare Wagyu beef, probably.
Okay. Not
Something.
Kobe.
Oh, no,
Just
maybe Kobe. Maybe Kobe.
just go
Yeah.
all the way, man. Just that's your
Yeah,
dream
we might
menu,
as well.
man.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of things I've actually had. I haven't had
Uh,
many these days. So, yeah, and then like a peppercorn sauce with like mixed veg, probably like slightly roasted, but like fried off in butter because it's
okay.
always really tasty. And then dessert would be I when I was a child, I had this thing called Death by Chocolate, and
Oh.
I really can't remember what was in it, but I remember I loved it so much that I ate a whole pan of it once.
Oh.
So I would have that, and it has a lot of chocolate in it.
Well, the advertising is wrong because you're still here.
Yeah,
Death
that's
by
true.
chocolate.
I am a medic, so maybe I
So you
provide
just gave
chocolate.
yourself the Heimlich.
Yeah,
Or...
sure.
Amazing. I think I would go for something similar. I
Yeah,
love chocolate. Death by chocolate honestly sounds delicious. I would go for
it
the
was.
Kobe
It was.
beef.
Yeah.
I've had the pleasure of, losing my wallet in Japan. So
Okay.
it was worth it. I think it was like the most expensive meal I've had in my life.
It's on
But
my list. It's on my list of places to go
but
just for the meals.
it was like super memorable because like you get your own chef and he just stands there and he like cuts up the beef and then like every slice he just cooks it and just like feeds it into your mouth. So
Oh,
you
okay.
just
Yeah.
have it like the perfect temperature.
That
And
sounds like the most decadent thing I have heard in
yeah,
a long time.
I felt like
You
an
are the
absolute.
Roman emperor, like dropping grapes into your gullet.
I felt like a dick, man. I felt like I felt like a dick for sure. And then it's like I look around and I see all of these other tourists just like really enjoying themselves. So I was like, it's vacation.
You've got to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to ask, what games are you casting this week?
Oh, I do Schalke versus Rogue
Oh,
and G2 versus Misfits on day
oh.
one, and then first three day two, which I haven't looked at completely yet. So
And who's your partner? Who's your partner in
it's
crime?
Medi
Medi
Vedi for me.
Vedi. Medi
Yeah,
Vedi. How did that whole thing start, man? Is it because you're
oh,
both
so
British?
interesting. Yeah, well, I cast on Challenger series with Betty when I first came in. He and I think we'd like worked together but never cast together in the UK.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when I came into Challenger series, we started casting together, and over time he was like, Medic, I'm gonna make us a thing. I'm gonna make Medi Vedi a thing. And I was like, okay, Vedi, that's fine. And like obviously I wanted to work with him as well, so it's like good. I was like, yeah, we're gonna make it a thing. It's gonna be amazing. Vedius and Medic, it's gonna be the best thing ever. And I was like, okay, Vedi. And then like bit by bit, we did just work really well together from the start because I think we are relatively similar wavelengths. Also, Vedi likes to like control the cast, and I give him a lot of space to say what he wants. So
Yeah.
it was always quite synergistic. And from there, you know, like we did a funny intro once, and then everyone expected us to do a funny intro every single time, which just hasn't gone well. This year we've decided to tone back the funny intros. We're gonna do like one or two a split, but I think it's been a lot of fun working with him. So
It's always tricky when you set the bar, you know.
that's the problem. Yeah, unless we do skydiving, I don't think we actually have anywhere to go now.
So skydiving is coming. Is that what you're saying?
Skydiving and Acquire definitely on their way.
Holy, skydiving spooks me, man. Just thinking about it makes me want to take a shit, which is kind of weird, but that's what.
Would you do it? Say if someone sponsored you to skydive, would you go?
I guess it's like, what are the odds of dying? That's the big question for me.
Relatively high, probably comparatively.
Comparatively to what? Like eating death by chocolate?
That's the thing. Like it's what do you weigh it up against? Do you weigh it up against like, oh, the chances of dying are actually infinitesimally small out of how many people skydive a year and how many people die? Or do you say, well, it's a greater than zero chance of dying, and when I'm standing on the ground, I have a much closer to zero chance of dying?
So it's like, how many skydivers die? Should I just Google that up?
I'm gonna Google it quickly now.
Okay, you do it, because I'm gonna ruin the overlay if I if I move.
Wait, we want 2019, don't we? Skydiving deaths in 2019. How many people have died? The USPA, which I assume is just the US, says 13 skydiving deaths in 2018.
Out of how is this? I guess there's no record for it.
Off the top of my head. Can't tell you off the top of my head.
You don't know these skydiving facts? Come on, man. Come on, doctor.
How many? Okay, now I have to Google. Oh no. Okay, quick. How many people skydive per year, US? Estimates 350,000.
Holy shit. Okay, that's very low percentage,
3 million jumps in a year.
Wow.
So yeah, 13 people dying out of 350,000 people.
That is like crossing the street, man. That is.
I don't think so. I think millions of people cross the street.
Yeah. Maybe.
But it is less than like a 3/1,000,000% or something.
Maybe death by chocolate is like a higher percentage.
Choking on death by chocolate is more likely to kill you than skydiving.
Okay. So yeah, then I will skydive. I just don't want to take like a stupid risk. That would be like my.
So what's your limit on risk then? What percentage of people have to die doing it for you to not do it?
Like probably like over 5%.
Okay, so you would do anything if there's a 5 in 100 chance of you dying, you would do it.
Well, it has to be exciting.
I wouldn't do that.
It wouldn't be like
very exciting.
It would be like it would have to be something that would be worth it. Like it wouldn't be like, oh, would you eat this mushroom that tastes like shit?
Yeah. Okay, that's true. I didn't set the parameters on how exciting it would be.
Yeah.
What about going to space? If 5 out of 100 people who went to space died, would you try and go to space?
I would do it when I'm very old.
Yeah.
Then it would be like imagine dying in space.
I honestly, I can't. I don't even know what that would be like.
You just like, you're on your deathbed and you're just like, I just want to see what happens when a person just goes out in the atmosphere. Do they really blow up? Do they like...
Oh, you want to actually you want to go into space. Because I was thinking in a ship. I was thinking of dying like in a spaceship. But
but like if you're like already gone, you know?
You'd get to your last request. You'd call up the Make-A-Wish Foundation. You'd say, hey guys, put me in one of those spaceships and then jettison me out with the rest of the garbage.
Yes. Just to see if it's like I've seen so many TV shows like Rick and Morty, Simpsons, when like a person just gets
very
shot.
well known for their physical accuracy.
Yes. yes. So I'm just curious, for science. I don't think anyone has willingly done that, so I'm curious. So
I think some people have probably unwillingly done it. I'm sure
really?
You could find out. Yeah.
It's like someone just flushed and just didn't. Like
it's like when you're in an airplane and you hear them die. Noise and you flush, it's like, oh no, all of the air's gone.
Shit, man. Because I've heard some horror stories about that. Like someone I think it was on an actual, like I might be talking out of my ass. This is. I hope no one fact checks me,
You
but
are
someone.
caster now, Yamato. This is what we do.
It's like someone flushed while sitting on the toilet on the plane, and it just the bowels just.
Yeah, I think you're talking out your ass. I'm
Yeah,
99% sure that wouldn't happen.
Okay. Thank God, because that's
I
like
do
a
still
fear
always
of mine.
close the toilet seat though when I flush in an airplane.
Yeah, me too. It's like.
I'm like, yeah. I'm pretty sure they store the poo and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Like I'm like 99% sure it just doesn't just drop on people.
I hope so.
As going along.
So that's how all the wars in the world have started. It's like someone,
Well, the king
someone getting shat on.
Get some shit on his face. It's like, ah!
Exactly. Holy moly. Yeah. I wanted to ask, Medic, you know,
Yes.
in regards to.
Bring us back to serious conversation.
No, we were talking. I don't know how we got here, but we're talking videos. So you're talking about. Oh yes. You're talking
Yeah.
about skydiving. What is the best part and the worst part about the duo? What is
Oh God.
You have a long list, huh?
I think that I think if you'd asked me at different times in like our career together, I'd give you different answers, right? Like,
Okay.
right now, the best thing is that I know I can go into a cast with Vedius and do a like 8 out of 10 cast without having like we don't need to prep together, we don't need to make sure we're on the same page because I know him well enough and he knows me well enough that we can just work in parallel and work together well. The worst part is there can be a degree of like complacency that comes with that where it's hard to like continually challenge yourself or like the duo because you're looking for 1% to 2% changes instead of before where it was like we're looking for a 10 to 15% change on how we do things. So I think that's the struggle I'm having right now, and I also like the way that working with Riot has changed this year has definitely changed how I have to prep for weeks and how I like can work with Vedi. But yeah, I think it's the blessing and a curse, right? We're so good together that we don't need to do all of the prep that we used to do, but that also leads to complacency at times.
Okay. Yeah. That's a very nice answer. I'm sure Verius would be happy.
Well, I think he just doesn't work enough, really. Let's be honest. He didn't watch LCK VODs probably from 7 weeks ago. So
Yeah.
It's a disgrace.
It's just ranting about Nocturne all the time.
Yeah, like exactly. He plays too many Nocturne games. He needs to play some Rakan, so he understands my pain.
Yes. Yeah. Do you ever like screw around with him? Like let's say like in a champion select, Nocturne gets locked in, and you just keep talking and don't give him the space to. Does that happen?
I think the thing about it is he really only cares about Nocturne mid.
Okay.
So it's played so rarely, and we see it so. Or Nocturne
Thank
solo
God.
lane, I guess.
Thank God.
Yeah, exactly. Thank God for that. So, we see it so rarely that it's hard to like monopolize the conversation because he won't care if it's Nocturne jungle.
Okay.
But there have been times when he's like, I know he wants to talk about something. I'm just like, nah, I'm not going to let you talk about that yet, Betty. I know you want to talk about this random pick. I'm like, nah, I'm going to talk about supports. Look at this itemization. They both went Relic Shield. I'm really shocked by that because, of course, you could go for the steel shoulder guards these days, Betty, and that would give you an extra 6.217 movement speed per 15 minutes if you use it correctly. I'm making shit. Yeah, it's fun to mess with your caster.
Because I think that's something I would do a lot. Like, especially like if you cast with someone you know so well, like I would just screw around with you. Because like even in the room, in the prep room, it's like when I get bored, I just screw around with people.
Yeah,
and
I think that's why I want you to cast with Quick Shot before you cast with me, so that you can be like, hey, can't do this with the other guys. Yeah, but like everyone would want to listen to your voice anyway, so I wouldn't care if you could filibuster the entire cast, and I wouldn't give a shit. You could read me Little Red Riding Hood, I'd be sitting there like, oh yes, Fnatic are winning the game, but no, talk to me more about this godmother.
You're making me blush, my man. You're making me blush.
It's true, man.
You don't see me right now because OBS doesn't allow me to put the camera on two things.
You didn't have to say that. You could have kept the magic of cinema and of the media industry.
Well, but I think there's something charming about, blushing, It means that your words mean a lot to me,
Oh, well, thank you.
And in terms of, we talk about videos, we can let videos go. How did it all start for you, specifically?
Can let Vedius go. I don't think he'd like to hear that. Anyway. How did what start for me? Casting.
Casting.
Okay. I was in second year of med school, and my
Mm.
friend introduced me to League of Legends, and I didn't really play for a while. I played a couple of times, but
So
I
what
only
year
had a
was
Mac.
this? This
2011?
2011. Ooh, old school man.
Yeah, maybe 2010.
Holy.
I think I started in 2010. Yeah, and then 2011 I really got into League,
Mm.
and I had a group of friends, and in we named ourselves Tactically Fabulous was the clan
Wow.
name, and we had Tarek as our mascot. And
Nice.
yeah, we used to play like scrims against each other, 5v5s, and one day we had too many people. And I was like, oh, I can put this on Twitch and stream it and such. And
Oh.
yeah, did that, realized that I like the sound of my own voice, because, obviously. And then just kept doing it for a while and really enjoying it. And then there was a company called the European Gaming League,
Okay.
EGL, who were looking for volunteers on Reddit to cast some of their games, and I
Oh.
volunteered and started doing that every week. And then I did Go for Lols for a while, and then
Did you cast me play?
I think I may have done. I can't remember. I'll be honest,
Let's
but
just
I
say
cast
it's
one.
cooler if we say that's where we
Yeah.
met, That's
Oh, yeah, that's definitely
well,
where
our
we met.
worlds collided right there, man.
Yeah. But I
9 years
used to do
ago.
like 14 hours of casting on a Saturday. I'd
Oof.
start for European Go for Lols and finish at the end of NA Go for Lols, and sometimes I'd have other stuff in the middle.
The good
Um,
times where
oh
working
God,
hours was not a thing. Everyone was a
exactly
slave.
right. Oh dear God, that was hellish, and that was all volunteer work as well. We wouldn't get paid anything for those. Um, and then I started getting jobs in the UK with like ESL UK and
Hmm.
with multiplay and game, and did some stuff for them. I actually applied for Riot in third year med school
Okay.
and ended up getting rejected / withdrawing my application. I think I was going to get rejected,
Okay.
and so I withdrew my application before I got rejected because I wanted to finish med school.
Okay.
And then I applied again for Riot when I finished med school, and got told I needed to work on some stuff by Trevor. He was like, "You're overly hyped. You're too excitable.
Okay.
You're not doing these things that you need to do." And I worked with. I did medicine. Worked as a doctor for a year, then
Hmm.
quit to do Vainglory and
Holy.
cast Vainglory for a year, and then applied again and got accepted by Riot. So
Holy.
yeah, it's been a bit of a roller coaster, I guess.
I respect the grind at the beginning. The
Yeah.
early days where
Oh
everyone.
mate, the early days we all ground. Like we all did so
Yeah.
much work in those days. I look back at them, I'm like, it wasn't a surprise that my casting wasn't amazing, because when you cast for 12 hours, by the end of it, you really have nothing left to say. You're
Yeah.
just saying exactly what happens on the screen all the time.
For sure. Like I did some work with like a Swedish broadcaster. They just wanted to do the LCS,
Okay.
and it was very like it was a, basically it was a production of three people. So two casters,
Okay.
me and a guy, and then we had a producer, but he wasn't in our ear, so he just came up and just held up notes, in front of the camera. He just hey, cut the
What is it?
pause.
Cut. Stop. Stop.
And it was rough because we did the whole analyst desk, we did the introductions, we did the games, and this was the year of delays. There was like
Oh yeah. Oh,
I
that's so
remember there was
awful.
one day where there was like tiebreakers, like 6 of them or something, and we just did like 12 games straight, and
Dear God.
we didn't have breaks. And that's where I was like, I was smoking like a chimney because we had 20 seconds, and then I was like, okay, this is
Yeah.
how I get nutrition, and then I jump
Yeah.
back into the game. But I think when we are like the way I saw it, when I look back at the old golden days, or not the golden days, but those days, it's like we were all like slaves to our passion, kind
Yeah.
of, because like if I look back at those times, I could accept any conditions. I just
Oh,
wanted to
100%.
to work with the game.
You do whatever you could to get on the game, right? And I think like
Yeah,
a lot of us have been slaves to our passions throughout our entire lives. Like, even if it hasn't just been League. For me, it was medicine before League, and then it was League, and now it's like working out what do I do in the time when I'm not doing League, because all I want to do is play League all
yeah,
day and then watch League and talk about League. It's like you can't. That's not how to be a productive human being. At some point, you're going to get burnt out, and you're going to have nothing left to like rely on. So it
yeah, for sure.
is. It makes you great, or like in inverted commas, makes you great at what you do. But you then have to find the way of being great while being healthy as a person.
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't know how tricky it is nowadays. Like if I asked you, like, let's say you would have a new game plus and you would start over right now in this moment, do you think would you imagine the path is the same today?
Oh, I don't even know. It's like I think I'd go for a similar route. Like, I think you have to do volunteer into local into international.
Hmm.
But I think I'd be much more multi-game than I am right now,
Okay.
because I looking at it now, it's like, who would I replace on the LEC caster team?
Hmm.
Like, if I was going to, and how long would it take me to get there, right? Maybe Quickshot, I don't know, like, if he would retire eventually or something like that, but
Hmm.
then you're looking at, like, is that 5 years down the line?
Yeah, yeah.
And also, I just don't think you can invest all of your time into one game anymore. I think there's too much stuff around, and there's not enough money in the individual game.
Yeah, yeah.
But I also think it's a timing thing, right? Like, if I was back in university, maybe I could just do League of Legends tournaments, get paid €100 for, like, £100 for a tournament, and
Hmm.
be happy with that because I'm still in university. I don't have, actual expenses. But
Hmm.
I couldn't live off that now. I wouldn't be able to. So
Yeah, yeah. Of course.
um,
Because I bet you get
yeah,
the question a lot, like, how do you become a caster? It's
yeah,
like
and
people.
like, if you want to be a good caster, you just have to. I mean, I'm sure you did this all the time at your teams. It's VOD review, right?
Yeah,
You do it a lot. You look back at yourself. You have specific goals, and you check if you met those goals, and then you work out how to meet them in the future if you haven't, or what your next goal is.
yeah,
How to get connections? It's like, well, you just reach out to as many people as you can, and you say,
yeah.
"Hey, here's a VOD of me." If you don't have a VOD, you make a VOD.
For sure, for sure.
But it's not easy to do.
Because that's the advice I always give. It's like, if you want to work in esports, well, this is maybe outside of casting, but in general, it's like, look at esports, find the problems, solve the problems.
Yeah,
And if you want to be working in something that requires visibility, like casting, you just have to create like a body of work, and then just, you know, the cliche thing to say is preparation is where, success is where preparation and luck kind of meets.
yeah, 100%,
So,
100%. Like, if you come to me and you say, "Hey, what do I do to become a better caster?" and you can't show me a VOD and you can't show me your goals, it's like, well, I can't tell you.
yeah.
All I can do is say, "Hey, cast a game."
I think there's some like instant gratification with like, oh, I'm gonna ask this guy,
Yeah,
this guy who's so successful, like I'm gonna ask Medic how to become a caster, and then it's like, oh, I have the answer, and I think that moment is kind of, I don't know if it's like a dopamine release, but it gives a moment of hope, and then it kind of disappears because it's kind of weird
there is.
because people usually know what they need to do, but they don't do it.
Yeah, I think, like, I do have a doc which is like, these are the basics of play-by-play that I think every play-by-play
Hmm.
should be able to do, right? And that's, like, it's super simple, and I happily give that to people. But
Hmm.
I remember reading a study a while ago which talked about how you shouldn't tell people what you are planning on, what your goal plan is, a lot of the time. Right? So
Yeah.
say my idea is I want to lose 10 kilograms. When I say to someone, "Hey, I'm going to lose 10 kilograms," I actually have the same release of endorphins and
Yeah.
dopamine that I would have when I actually reach the goal. And so you kind of, like, in your head, you're like, "Oh, I've achieved that," instead of actually achieving it and then feeling the end result. You've
Yeah, for
already
sure.
thought, your brain is like, "I've got there, it's done."
For sure. Like the instant
But you,
gratification is dangerous.
it's so dangerous, so dangerous.
Super, super dangerous. I've been a victim of my own gratification sometimes.
Oh, definitely.
It
Like, all the
definitely
time.
works that way.
Like,
That's the whole thing with the podcast. I announced it. I'm gonna do a podcast. People are like, yeah, cool, man. I'm excited, and it just never happened.
3 years later, hey, we're gonna
3 years
officially
later,
get around to doing a
yeah,
podcast now.
for
But we all
sure.
have it, right? Like, it happens to all of us. It's just about the balance between, like, discipline and motivation, right? Some days you're really motivated to do stuff and you can get through it, and other days you're like, you hate life and you don't want to do it at all, but you have to discipline yourself and say, okay, even though I don't feel like doing this, I'm going to do it because I know the end result is what I want.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's what's so cool about now. I feel is we live in a time. I'm so happy that I'm alive now in 2020 because we have access to everything, right?
yeah,
Like if people always say, oh, you have to surround yourself by successful people, and we can read the biographies of the most successful people in the world and
yeah,
just draw motivation from people all over the world. I
it's true.
feel It's if I think back about what my parents had or something, you know, internet was like a
Oh,
new thing, and it was like
hey,
it's
you look back
crazy.
even 100 years. It's like at the moment I'd be fighting in a world war, or either the world
Yeah,
would have just ended, right? But
I was born in
we're
Sweden, so I would be just like, you know,
chilling.
chilling, seeing people around me. Just,
Yeah,
but I guess maybe if I was born 100 years ago, I would be in the Middle East or something. Who knows?
yeah,
I don't know
maybe.
how that works.
It's always interesting to think about the specific moment in time that we live in right now and how it
Yeah.
affects who we are as people. None of us have scurvy, so that's a bonus.
Scurvy is the whole the pirate thing when
Yeah,
you're
vitamin C, lack of vitamin C.
lack of vitamin C.
Yeah.
That's ironic that Gangplank eats citrus
Yep.
fruit. Is that
Well,
the?
here's citrus fruit, and the spell is called remove scurvy. So,
Oh,
yeah.
holy shit, man.
Yeah.
Okay, dropping the mad science on me here, man. That's
I'm pretty sure the creators dropped the mad science. You just hadn't connected the dots yet. So,
that's true. Okay, okay. This is something that happened. What, like on on land as well?
yeah, you could get it anywhere. It's purely a C deficiency.
Okay, and why was that common in the
Why?
past?
Because where would you get citrus fruits in England?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
where'd you get your
Not in
vitamin
the
C
rain,
from, Yamato?
not in
Not in
the
the rain,
not in the
sadly. No.
clouds.
Yeah, just raining oranges down on your head.
Holy, holy.
Sadly,
Okay.
sadly, it didn't work that way.
Wow. Yeah. I'm happy to be alive now. That's why
So
it's
am I.
like I'm curious about your opinion about the whole coronavirus because I think we live in a time where people really like to panic about almost
Yeah.
everything, and I think we live in a time where the world is better off than it has ever been, and I think it's easy to forget that. And when I compare the coronavirus in comparison to some of the viruses that happened even 10 years ago, then it looks, doesn't look too bad. But I don't
Yeah.
know if China is maybe not releasing information or something. Who knows?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? You can't really grasp the magnitude of these things,
Yeah.
especially when they're in China, because you don't know what's happening. But like, I'm not too worried about coronavirus. I think it's as far as I've seen, the majority of people have died, either being immunosuppressed or elderly or very young, so
Okay.
had weaker immune systems or some such, and it does seem relatively contained, as much as it's like spread out because we uh, we mapped its genome very quickly after it was discovered. It's very easy for us to then like track it and such. So
Okay.
I'm not too worried personally. I'm not going to be wearing a face mask out and about, but I with the media the way it is, like I can understand why people are concerned because everything is like the end of the world. Everything is world like I'm gonna say world ending, but that's exactly the same thing as the end of the world. Catastrophic, right? Like I remember SARS and swine flu and avian flu and there are a lot of bacteria and stuff we should be worried about, like
Yeah.
MRSA. But I wouldn't be worried about these um, pandemics that we see sometimes,
Okay.
or not
Okay.
as worried as perhaps some people are.
I was surprised by how well prepared the world is for something like this,
Oh,
because
we have to be.
it's like it's never been a conversation that I've talked or thought about a lot. Like, sure, I've played the games like Pandemic,
Oh yeah,
like where you're supposed to spread it, and Zimbabwe is like so isolated, and you need to, I don't know, like I played those games, and then the world kind of works together to kind of, you
yeah.
know, break
That's why
apart
you
this.
don't go obvious. You don't have symptoms early, right? You don't get
Yeah,
symptomatic
you
early,
just
and
spread
then
yourself through the water system, and
yeah.
then I wonder if viruses will get that smart at some point.
I mean, there are viruses like that. They just tend to. The big thing about it is if you are a lethal virus, is actually not usually that good for you because you don't get transmitted, right? So you want to be transmissible, contagious before you're symptomatic, and also if you're lethal, you actually kill yourself, right? Because you killed off the host, so then you
Oh,
can't survive off it, right? So like things like hepatitis, I always get my hepatitis the wrong way around. I'm gonna say hepatitis D is
okay.
just like, or
There's a
maybe it's
D. Holy.
there's A, B, C, D, and E.
Wow.
I think it's either D or C that is just chronic and you can just have it for your entire life.
Hmm.
But one of those anyway. Yeah, they're just chronic diseases and you just have them for a long time.
Okay.
But it's better not to kill off the host if you're a virus.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So what was the? I don't know. This is a very very like deep question because the plague killed one third of the
Yeah,
population.
bubonic plague. Yeah, bubonic plague. A
So
third of the Europe.
what was the deal with that, man?
Okay, well, what I'm gonna do is not Google it, completely. So
Sorry
bubonic
for
plague
putting you on the
was
spot. You know,
bubonic plague is a bacteria,
okay.
and what would happen is it was transmitted by ticks on rats.
Oh,
And because hygiene wasn't very good at the time, the ticks would jump up and then they don't.
oh,
But you'd actually get exposed, and then it would be 7 days later you became symptomatic. So
mm.
then it could. I think it's either ticks or lice, one of the two. A tick would bite me and then jump over to you and bite you, but then we'd go around and have ticks on us, and they'd go around and bite everyone else. And then 7 days later, you'd start to get fluey and sick, and you develop these black pustules under your
Oh,
armpit, that's where Black Death comes from. If you
mm.
had your lymph nodes swell up and you get black pustules, they get black pus come out of them. So yeah, that was, and then it died out in the end.
Because that's like that's like the. I don't want to say. I want to say the goat disease, but
It's the goat disease. Yes. I mean, technically, I'd go common cold. Like, I'd go for an adenovirus if I was to say the goat disease, as in the
okay,
disease that has stayed around the longest and has probably
okay.
infected the most people. But if you're looking for pure kill numbers, that's up there. But then influenza has to be really high on your list, and malaria actually. Both of
Oh,
those would be really high up on kill score.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
So there's like there's an evolutionary process in bacteria and virus as well.
Yeah, so there's mutations. The flu virus is actually super interesting. So bacteria pass things. Okay. Ooh. Bacteria. I'm gonna slow myself down because all the knowledge is like flooding through me. Bacteria have these things called plasmids, which are little circles of DNA, and they pass them to each other, and that's how you get how your hand soaps say get rid of 99.9% of bacteria or something, right? The 0.9,
Medic,
the
I'm so
0.1.
sorry. I'm so sorry.
Right.
Right now the
Yep,
water just came.
go get your thirsty boy.
Hold
Go
on
get
to
your
this.
thirsty boy, mate.
Hold on to this thought, my friend. You can plug your stuff.
Okay.
Have fun or take a break. Give me 1 second.
My name's Medic. I'm typing to people. Okay. Ha. Yamato the thirsty boy. I assume we're just going to edit this part out, so I'm actually going to have a sip of the vape.
Yeah, hello.
Hey, man. How you doing?
How you doing?
I'm
You
good.
turn off the camera. You still with me?
I didn't turn off the camera. It must have
Oh.
turned itself off. 1 second. Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, pardon me. It was the Thirst
right.
Express.
You are a thirsty man.
We were talking about the mutations of
Yes.
virus and bacteria. The last word I remember hearing is plasmids.
I'll do it. We'll go. So bacteria pass genetic information through plasmids, which are like circles of DNA. And the reason that you can only kill 99.9% of bacteria is when one of these bacteria survives, being like tried to be killed off by alcohol or soap or whatever you're using, it can pass that plasmid to other bacteria, and then they can divide and mutate and grow and grow and grow. And so
Oh,
you actually you create this resistance in the bacteria, which
okay.
is also why when a doctor gives you antibiotics, it's really important you take the full course, because even if you feel better, say you have a 7-day course, even if you feel better by day 5, there's still some bacteria left. And if you don't kill them off, they will then be resistant to that antibiotic in the future, or they can
Oh,
develop resistance to it. Whereas with viruses, the best example of viral mutation is influenza. You have 2 types of mutation, usually year on year. So one year you'll have antigenic drift, which means the antigens that the virus expresses are they change slightly. So you'll go from like it's just a small change, like a 2% change, right? And then the next year you have this thing called antigenic drift, which is a much larger shift, sorry, which is a much larger change, and it kind of shifts the way it expresses the antigens. So that's the reason, like usually it's every 2 years or so that you have a bad flu season, and like you
oh,
might not know that much about it because it's usually like you get more patients in hospital, and
okay.
the flu hits harder because of it. So those are like the 2 major types of mutation. I'm sure I've oversimplified it, and there's a lot more in depth than that, and a lot more detailed. But from my memory, from what I remember right now, that's what I would be talking about when I talk about mutational change.
Okay, interesting. So
Yeah,
it's basically it's exactly the same as if there would be evolution within animals or anything else.
yeah, it's a similar thing. Usually much more rapid. Like
Okay, okay.
a bacteria can mutate on a day-to-day
Hmm.
scale, as opposed to humans, which is like you're talking about millions of years of evolution, right?
That's super interesting.
Yeah.
It puts context to the whole 99.9%.
Yeah. There is a really cool you can actually check yourself to see if you're a more evolved human these
Oh,
days. So there's a tendon in your hand, and it's called palmaris longus, and in 10% of the population it's not there because we don't need it anymore. It used to be used for gripping in trees and such. If you
okay.
do this motion, there's a tendon that sticks out here. You can see it there. Just you might not be able to see it, but just here there's this tendon pushing out from my body, and that's the
Okay.
palmaris longus tendon. I have one, so I'm less evolved technically.
I think I don't have one, but maybe that's my
Oh,
ego talking.
well, look at you. Look at Mr. Fancy Pants, more evolved, better voice.
Maybe it's just my ego talking. Or
I'll check you for one. I'll check you
okay,
for
you
one on
check me.
Saturday. You can edit it and be like Yamato, the more evolved Yamato experience. That's what.
Holy, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Like I have a lot of fat stored here, so I don't know if I'm.
Same.
Holy. That brings me to the next thing that I've been curious about. Like
Hmm.
maybe you, because the whole anti-vax movement,
Oh, dear
that's
God.
just
Okay.
craziness.
Yeah.
That's such a step in the wrong direction.
Yeah. So.
I love your face
Oh.
expression. It's just, it looks like this has driven you insane.
Yeah, I really disagree with the anti-vax movement just generally. I think it's killing people, and I think
Yeah,
if you refuse to vaccinate your children, if you refuse to get vaccinated yourself, you shouldn't be allowed in public, basically, because
yeah,
you put a great risk out to other people. I know that sounds harsh, but it's literally like it's basically murder, right? And like that's super extreme, but you are not protecting the people around you because so couple of things. Do you want to start with the history of anti-vax, or do you want to start with why it's important to be vaccinated? Which side do you want to go for?
yeah. Whatever floats your boat, man. Whatever
We'll
you
do both.
feel the
We'll
most
do both.
passionate about.
Okay.
Both is
Well,
very interesting to me, so I'm
one
curious.
second. I just need to. I need to look up a study. There was a study on the MMR vaccine.
Matchmaking rating,
No, so
vaccine. We need
measles,
that.
mumps, and
We need
rubella.
that in
Here
solo
we
queue, man.
are. There's a study on the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccination in the early 1990s in England. I think
Okay.
it's early 1990s. It's definitely 1990s of some time.
Hmm.
And I can't remember the name of the guy who did it. But what he did, basically, it was a very, very... Oh, Andrew Wakefield is the name of the doctor.
Okay.
It's a very poorly run study where he basically paid children to have their blood and gave them sweets to take their blood, and he tried to find a link between MMR and autism, right?
Okay.
And so having this vaccine, he tried to prove that there was a link to having autistic children. And now the study has been debunked by the entire scientific community. It's never been backed up. There's never been another study that has proven that there was any link at all. And his study, it's like if you are knowledgeable about what a good study looks like and how studies should be run, like double blind, so both the person who's receiving the treatment and the person who is taking the checks, neither of them know what the person is receiving. Like, there's all of these layers to studying that make it as strong as possible at avoiding inherent biases that can come up, right? He didn't do any of that. He literally took the blood and then put out some results, right? So that's where the whole anti-vax movement started, was this single study that was disproven immediately. Andrew Wakefield was struck off from the General Medical Council register. He's no longer an actual a doctor. He's like, he doesn't have his medical license anymore. And they developed, and of course, you now see all of this stuff about, oh, there's this much mercury in a vaccine, and oh, there's this many dead bits of animals in a vaccine. It's just, you're just not. It's people thinking they are knowledgeable about a topic because they've looked at Google for a couple of minutes. And it's like, I know I've done that in the past, but at some point you have to accept that maybe someone that has done 5 years of medical school plus a couple of years of training on the job plus 10 years of like specific pharmaceutical study on this area knows a little bit more about it than you do. So that's where it's all based from, and that's why even in its roots it was stupid, and now it's even more so because it's somehow become a widespread thought. And the reason vaccinations are so important is that even if you're vaccinated, you're not necessarily immune from something. The idea behind most vaccinations, and there's different types, there's ones where they give you a little bit of the bacteria, there's ones where you give you like dead bacteria or dead virus or whatever, and there's ones where they give you not bacteria, sorry, only virus. There's ones where they give you a live version of it, but they attenuate it, so they change it slightly so it's not as deadly or whatever. The reason it's so important is even if you have that, your body has not necessarily created antibodies for the disease, so your body is not necessarily immune. However, if you surround one person who's had the vaccine who didn't become immune with 20 people who did, then even if there's someone walking along who's yet to have the vaccination, has it, he's much less likely to get infected, right? Okay. The person in the middle who isn't immune is much less likely to get infected, and that's called herd immunity. So the idea is if you have 98% of people who have vaccinations are becoming immune, then even if you throw one person in there who didn't become immune, it's very hard for the disease to get to them because there's this buffer of people around them, right? And the issue is some of these diseases are incredibly virulent and incredibly good at like, I'm gonna quote numbers that are wrong off the top of my head, but just to give an example. So we'll say disease X, right?
Okay.
Some of these diseases are at the point where all you need is one person out of 1,000 immunized people to be sick, to have the disease, to then infect anyone else who's not immune in that area.
So it just like reproduces fast and mutates fast.
It's very good at getting into places where it can infect people. So it's just as someone who spent quite a lot of their life like dedicated to helping people get better, it really pains me to see something like this that is preventable. Like measles, we were eradicating measles, and polio, we eradicated polio, and the fact that these diseases could come back and are starting to come back in developed areas of the world is just, it's incredibly disheartening and incredibly hard.
It's a bit terrifying.
Right? It's like, I don't know if I'm immune. I hope I'm immune, and my children, when I have children, will be immunized. Yeah. But like, you can catch measles as a child and it doesn't kill you, right? But it can kill you. Yeah. But as an adult, if you get measles, you're hard screwed. Like it goes to your brain, and you die very quickly. And it's not a good way to die. Like, it's
rough.
The argument you always see is, and I disagree with using this as an argument, is like, having, even if vaccines did cause autism, it would still be better than these diseases, right? And I don't think you should ever use that argument, because you're conceding the fact that because vaccines don't cause autism, there's literally no proof that vaccines cause autism. So, sorry.
I brought up a painful subject, huh? The conspiracy theories. It's strange because like they believe in the idea that the whole medical community came together.
It's a big conspiracy. Like, sorry, I'm gonna calm down.
It's the same with the whole flat Earth theory, right? I think it's like the probably there's some crossover there, right? Where they think that the whole
it's the world is out to get me. And I think, like, in the past, so I read something good about this. It's like, in the past, people like this wouldn't have the opportunity to share their views with like-minded individuals, because the internet didn't exist and there weren't like Facebook groups, etc. But now they can almost closet themselves off in that community and just have an echo chamber. It's like, anyone outside of our group is wrong and doesn't. You shouldn't trust them. You shouldn't believe them. It's almost cultish in some of the regards. And I know, like, I have echo chambers in my life as well. Right? Like, we all do. It's just about trying to be aware of those and trying to not have them impact your life in the same way that these people seem to have let them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. There is a danger in that, and I think this is it's weird now where we're what's going on in media and such, that it's like the idea of rational conversation was gone for a little bit of time, but I feel like it's coming back. And that's why I love podcasts so much, because it's just like no judgment, just a conversation, and I think that's sometimes missing.
I had quite a lot of judgment for certain people in this episode, I'll be honest.
And I'll help you out, you know. We will fight the anti-vaccines with mercury or something. I don't know. I don't know, man.
I did watch. I watched a really funny YouTube video of an anti-flat earther doing. There's a traditional study where you put like 4 poles of equal height, a certain distance apart on the Earth, right? And you shine. They've each got a hole in at like 6 foot tall. Like, it's just a hole in the pole. And you shine a torch in one end, and then you see if you can pick up the light at the other end, right? And if the Earth is flat, you should be able to, because the light should just go all the way through all 3 of the poles. But this guy basically proved that, like, the Earth is curved because he couldn't get through, because the light just hits the top of the pole and doesn't go through the hole. And then you just see him go, well, must be something wrong with the study. Like, no, what? How can you rationalize it that way?
It reminds me of something very similar to, like, I was also reading like some anti-vax posts, and then there was some random guy who was like, what if they injected a bit of the virus into people so they would so like they recreated the vaccine, which is insane.
It's just like, oh, that's mate, you are. I think we just stop calling them vaccinations and we call them slightly altered virus injections. It's like, yeah, maybe that would be okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe it's a nomenclature thing. We just need to change our lexicon.
Because that's a very interesting topic too, like the branding of some world problems. Because I think like the whole global warming thing is just branded wrong.
Yep.
Because it's like save the Earth.
People use climate change a lot more than global warming now, don't they?
Because even that is like too weak. Like for me, if it was like branded as like I don't know the right way to phrase it, but like the humanity will die, you know? Yeah. It has to be punchier, because it's like, yo, we have to save the Earth. Like, the Earth doesn't give a shit.
No.
The Earth has been... for sure. It's like the Earth doesn't give a shit about people. It's going to stick around for a long time. It doesn't care how warm it is. It is about us, you know? People will die. And I think if it was branded a bit better, maybe we wouldn't have this problem.
It's quite possible. Knows? I mean, people are already dying from the effects of climate change.
Yeah.
You see the fires and then the floods in Australia. Mosquitoes are moving higher up in mountain ranges in India, like malaria-carrying mosquitoes. When I was there, I lived in the mountain ranges, and we were talking about how year on year, it would be like the level at which you'd get a mosquito that could infect you with malaria would just be higher and higher and closer to where we live. So it's very interesting, but obviously, like, terrifying at the same time.
So you spent time in India?
I lived there from when I was 10 until I was 18.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Yeah.
How was life over there, man? Tell
I
me.
was it's strange because people always like, oh, it must have been so different there. But like for me that's my childhood, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the majority of the childhood I remember. It was great. It was very enjoyable. There were times when it felt very isolating as well, being like one of 5 or 6 white people in the village that we
Yeah,
lived
yeah.
in. But I was very Christian at the time. My
Okay.
dad's a missionary, so we'd
Oh.
like very happy clappy, turn the other cheek sort of guy.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was fun. It was I think everyone's childhood. Well, my childhood I look back on with fondness. I can't say that for everyone, but
Yeah, yeah.
I also don't think I'd want to do it again. I quite like
Yeah,
where I
yeah.
am right now. So
I'm exactly the same, because if I look back at it, my father was he's a very old school type guy,
okay,
very religious, and everything, it's as if his mind just came from 500 years ago or something.
yeah,
It's like the son is supposed to when he's able, he's supposed to work for the family. So I was like, I went to school, I worked, and then like playing PC was like the worst thing on the planet for him, because it was
okay,
like, for him it was the devil. Rock
okay,
music was the devil. Everything fun was the devil. And
interesting.
I had to. I did this whole business because eventually I got a laptop from school, and then
Mm.
I was like pretending to sleep, and I was like playing League in a way where I was like laying in bed, and then whenever I heard my father's footsteps, he's like a heavy guy, and I was like I just
Yeah,
slammed the
pose it.
laptop down. I had like these burn marks on my thighs. I'm just happy I didn't fry my balls, because
Oh man, that's good.
so it was interesting times. Like I look back at that, that work ethic that my father pushed into me. I'm very happy that I have it, and I'm happy that
Oh,
I've
definitely.
like gone through it. But I wouldn't want to like relive it. But I look back at it with fondness too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember I used to hide Harry Potter under my mum was very anti Harry
Oh.
Potter. I used to hide Harry Potter books under my duvet and then have a little torch and read them, or like hide it in my folders of my notes for like exams. I'd have a
Yeah,
folder and then like lock the door, folder, and then the Harry Potter book inside the folder so that I could read it.
yeah.
It was very
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. It's funny because isn't the whole basis of Harry Potter like the fight between evil and good?
yeah, but
You know?
I mean everything's evil and good. Like
Yeah, I guess.
every book you ever read is evil and good, right? Well, the majority of them. I think like the whole idea behind witches and wizards and spells and that sort of stuff, my mum was quite against. She
Hmm.
wouldn't let me play Pokemon either, so I don't know.
Yeah. Everything's the
That was
devil, huh?
pocket monsters, right? Because they were demons. So
For sure. There's something powerful because I remember as well. Like I had to do. I went to like these religious gatherings with my father and so forth, and the sense of community,
oh,
regardless
definitely.
of the faith behind it, there is something very very useful about it.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like it instills within you a security and a safety and
Yeah.
an emotional connection. I'm a very emotional guy generally, and I think there's a degree of peace knowing that you're in something like that. And
Yeah.
hmm, there's also like for me at least there was a very spiritual side to it. Like I felt very close to God and I'd have like spiritual experiences and I got baptized and I'd faint or like fall over with the
Mm.
power of the Lord, right? And it's looking back at it, it's interesting to wonder like if I'd gone through the same experience from 20 to 28 or whatever,
Yeah.
would it have felt the same as being a pubescent or pubescent boy growing through it?
Yeah.
But
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know. It's fascinating though.
For sure. Like I think like the whole idea of praying. So basically, like my father is like I come from a Muslim background, right? And
Hmm.
the act of praying is something that you do like on Friday together.
Yeah.
And like I think the last time I did it, I don't know, I was maybe 15, but
Hmm.
the it was almost as if the act of praying was like meditation,
Yeah.
because I recognize the same kind of feelings. You're so focused and centered on one thing, and afterwards there's a feeling of peace, and
Yeah.
then the sense of community that everyone's doing it together. I think I guess the biggest reason I brought it up was because I think it's sometimes lacking in today's world. You know, everyone's so connected. Everyone's like uh, everyone's really connected, but at the same time, loneliness is at its
Yeah.
peak. You
I
know?
can see that. I think like the fact that I can like the first thing I turn to in the morning is my phone, and I look at
Yeah,
Twitter
yeah,
and you look at Instagram, you look at WhatsApp, right? But when was the last time I actually had a proper conversation and sat down and focused on having a conversation with
yeah.
one of the people that I chat to on social media? I agree with you. I think there is that community atmosphere that dedicating time to getting to know and to being in fellowship with other people is very important in just life in general. So
Because that's also like I'm completely with you, and that was like probably the whole idea behind why I wanted to do this podcast in the first place. I don't want to like make money or something. I just want to sit down and talk without any constraints. Because whatever media piece that you're doing for anything else, and you know, if it's for example Euphoria, I love Euphoria, but there is some things that you need to hit. There are some bars that you need to meet, and here we can talk about, you know, anti-vax, flat Earth, and you know.
it has been an interesting set of discussions. I'll be honest.
You know, I made some notes of where to go, and you know, we went. These notes
We
are
started off with our ideal meals, so I think we diverged from your plan very early on.
it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
You know, I was curious because, you know, for me, so my, I always had an idea of what I wanted to do. I was like when I was a kid, I loved games. I wanted to work with games, but at the time, I thought the only way to work with games was to create games. So I thought, okay, I want to create games. Then eventually, you know, League came around, and I started competing, the usual business. For you, with the path to becoming a doctor. So, like, the main thing that I noticed right away about you is that you are one of the most nurturing individuals, which is amazing. You know, like when you enter a room, and you know, I remember the first time I went into the cast room, I just observed. You know, I looked at how people are acting, and I noticed right away that even the slightest thing, every opportunity was almost an opportunity for you to show that you care about others, which I think is amazing, amazing.
Thank you.
And I think there's a clear connection there, and I wanted to kind of give an opportunity or help me find the connection. You know, you said India, the whole missionary thing, and then on to doctorhood and so forth. How did everything pan out for you? Like, how did you see yourself when you were younger?
I'd always wanted to be a doctor. I think from when I was about 5 years old,
Oh.
I'd always talked about wanting to be in the medical profession, be a doctor specifically. And like my mum got quite sick when I was about 7 with breast cancer, and so we spent a lot of time in and out of hospitals. And I saw just how helpful like a good doctor could be,
Mm.
or a good nurse, or yeah, anyone working there. So I think that the desire, as you say, to help other people and to make life better for other people is one of the core foundations of just who I am as a person. I
Mm.
think if you were to define a single goal for my life, it would be to make it better for others, right?
Mm.
Or just to care for other people. I think I got to 14 when my mum died, and it definitely solidified in my mind that I wanted to be a doctor still. So then there was like a 2 month period of doubt in high school where I was like, oh, I don't want to be a doctor anymore. I'm going to do creative writing.
Mm.
But it was mostly because I missed an exam deadline for like some application exams for universities in England. So ended up delaying my applications for a year and working in healthcare as a healthcare assistant in the UK.
Mm.
So at a nursing home, basically for old people, helping them get up, get dressed, get washed, get fed,
Mm.
and then went into med school. So it had always been something I wanted to do, and I'm still really glad that I did it, even if I couldn't or didn't end up following it for my like lifelong career.
Mm. You can always you seem to have all the knowledge fresh in your mind, man. This is a door
The
that is
thing is,
open
man,
for you.
I could have bullshit you with the most bullshit in the world, and you would have no clue about if any of the medical stuff was right. I mean, I appreciate it no end, but like, it would be it would be very hard for me to go back into medicine like straight off. I'd probably have to redo final year of med school and redo my exams and then redo first year of being a doctor to get back in. I
Sure, so
think.
some warm up. That's fine.
Yeah,
That's
I
fine.
could definitely get back in. It's just it would be tricky for me to get back in straight away.
I
It's
will
not
put
like
my
a
money on
backup
you.
career.
I will
Yeah,
put my
thank
money
you.
on you,
Thank
man.
you. It's very kind of you.
This is, I think, without a doubt, this will be no problem for you, man.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, mate, if you join another team and you need a doctor on staff, I'll go back to it for you, mate. That's fine.
fantastic. Speaking of this, what do you think? You know, in terms of health, because it's like it's something that came to my mind more and more the most recent years. Because looking at like sports contracts, like in traditional sports, usually the contract is like, oh, you need to do a full medical checkup. You need to be everything needs to be clear because in the end, teams are responsible. I think this is something that have been kind of like swept under the rug within esports, and I think a lot of teams are not equipped to manage a situation where a player is injured or sick in a way where it can be life altering.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, what do you think are some of the mistakes that you've seen in esports in terms of health management?
I think the major thing is that people weren't aware of it up until like a couple of years ago. Like, I wonder how many players we lost to repetitive strain injury. I wonder how many players we lost to just mental problems. I think I might get his name wrong, but I think Ku
Yeah,
had like obviously a lot of issues over the last few years, and it's very difficult to see people go through that. And Emilio is a good example as well, who obviously really struggled when she was on the stage. I think people are starting to be more aware, and we're moving from kind of the wild west that was health management and team management into a much more structured program. My hope is just that we continue to see it develop and grow the way it has been growing.
no.
There were definite mistakes made in the past, and you probably actually know more about some of the background mistakes than I do because you're more involved in that side of things. But
You know, it's
from
been
from what I see, we're going in the right direction.
yeah, definitely. That I can for sure agree with.
Yeah.
I was curious from your side, but on my end, something that I realized just 2 years ago, like there's always been the sense of responsibility for the guys and the people that work within the team that you know they are set up for a future. That has been very important to me because you want to turn these guys into professionals because in esports the biggest underlying difference is most of the time the players that you get to work with are players that don't come from a professional background. Like if you in traditional sports, if like a young talent is hired, 18-year-old, $50 million contract, he just got transferred to Liverpool, whatever. Then this guy has already been in a team
Yeah, it's been
for
a youth
16
team
years.
since 12. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you know his father pushed him to kick balls when he was 2 years old. You know, he's been busy, he's been coached, he understands how to be a pro, and at the same time, of course, there's a lot of the background of these organizations. They also know and are equipped to deal with anything. And I think in esports, when you have young players come in, you have such a big responsibility because most of the time these guys they are moving out of their house for the first time in their life, which is crazy. That big shift. Most of the time, players they leave a home where they received love and care, and I think that's super important too because I realize that even though it might sound corny, players also need love, right?
Oh, they do. 100%.
For sure.
Yeah,
It's
because as you say, they don't have that support network. Like, especially with gaming houses being the way they are as well. Like, if I know, like, even moving to university was stressful. It's like, whoa, imagine moving to university but having an exam every weekend and having your job basically on the line every weekend that you play. Like, I couldn't even imagine that.
yeah,
At 17, 18 years old, it's hellish to have to go through.
for
And
sure.
obviously, like, there were benefits and there were perks to it, but I think your mentality is so good around it, right? That you understood it's not just about having professionals there.
Yeah.
And I wonder if we'll move into something else. I wonder if, like, with there's university sports in the UK. There's definite like more amateur level programs of like developing and academies and ERLs, whether things will move into a more professional mindset. But I think we're like 20 years away from having anything near where football has or where
Um,
a traditional sport has.
I think what's so cool is, you know, like I don't know how long league will stick around. Like you can always I
Forever.
think with esports forever.
Yeah.
I think with esports, like you can comfortably say that minimum 5 years, and then
Yeah.
next year it'll be another minimum 5 years because you never know. Like it's like something might go wrong, very wrong with the game, and then Riot can maybe still pump money into it and make like you know, big prize pools
Yeah.
or something to keep people interested, and then
Even if it started dying this year, it would still be around for like 5 more years.
yeah,
Right. That's the thing.
and it's on the up and up, and things are going super well.
Yeah.
So it's not in any shape or form a prediction from my end, but I can
Yamato,
comfortably say.
I'm just gonna tweet right now. Yamato, 5 years before League of Legends is dead.
Okay, if you want to, go ahead.
No, sucks.
Uh, we can comfortably say that esports is the future, regardless if
Yeah.
it's league or any other game. I think like now the teams are building facilities and so forth. I think they have a vision in mind
Mm-hmm.
that is esports for the next, like this is just the future. Like the next step
Yeah.
maybe is like virtual reality games or something, you know, that we've seen in movies.
Yeah. Or
Um,
virtual reality stadiums as well.
yeah,
We saw it a bit for Dota, I believe, the last couple of years. But being able to like plug in, and again, it's an interesting one because you kind of lose that fellowship we were talking about earlier, right?
yeah.
But being able to sit next to your friends in a stadium watching the
Mm.
game when you don't actually have to be in the stadium watching the game.
But maybe it has the same effect, right?
Maybe.
Because I don't think our mind, like it's weird. We were talking about earlier how 2020 is like for me is the best time to be alive. But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, I don't feel like our mind completely is grasp, like ready to grasp everything that's going on. And I just can't begin to imagine like when VR and everything, AR, everything becomes more and more advanced, how our mind is going to like compute it all. Because I feel like we are a living experiment.
Oh, 100. Yeah, we're almost at Matrix level, like
Yeah.
immersion, right? And there's this idea of a thing called a metaverse, which is pure. It's not purely uh, it's a bit like Ready Player One,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
also like everything is interconnected. So it's not just a platform; it's like the world is
Mm.
the meta. And you're starting to see corporations try and establish their idea of a metaverse. So like Fortnite with collabs with Marvel and with Star Wars,
Yeah, yeah.
Disney trying to like amalgamate all of their platforms, but it's possible, within 10, 15 years that you have this like one unified separate universe of virtual reality of just like the world working alongside the real life world. And
Mm.
it's gonna be fascinating. It's gonna be absolutely incredible.
For
But
sure.
I'm not sure it's a good thing either. I hope it is.
Yeah. I
Too much
just feel like it's
connectivity could be
inevitable.
bad, right? Oh yeah, I
It's
think it
definitely
is. Yeah.
inevitable. If it's good or bad, I don't know. But it's inevitable, right? Like we are just by nature, there's just some geniuses out there. I don't even know. Like we're talking right now with the camera. I don't know how the camera works. I don't know how the PC works. I don't know how anything
Yeah.
works. There's some geniuses out there that are solving equations that I can't even dream of understanding. And it is, I guess, it's just a part of nature because this is how humans survived, right? Through innovation.
Yeah. I just realized if we had a Vedius character on LEC that was a mathematician, we could call him Calculus. So yes, other people are doing really good math experiments, and I'm here thinking about what to name the next Vedius character.
See that nurturing nature, man. You
Yeah,
care about him.
Calculus. Calculus. It's either a mixture of like a Roman emperor or a mathematician.
Yeah, I could see it for
Yeah.
sure. I could have maybe filled with the Aphelios because that's
Oh, that's
Aphelios
true.
is science, straight up science, man. He's weird. And speaking of Velios, I was really surprised because I asked him if he knows who Skepta is. Do you know who Skepta is?
Yeah, he's the UKLC player, but he used to be a streamer, right?
Oh, what?
Oh, you're talking about Skepta.
The musician,
Okay,
Skepta.
yeah, okay, yes. I'm thinking of a different Skepta who is a UKLC player. But
Oh,
yes, I know who Skepta is, yes.
LC player. So that's the league.
The UKLC, yeah, he plays in the league. I
And
think
he
his
calls
name's
himself
Skepta.
Skepta.
Well, it's Jack Skepta, I think. Jack.
Oh, or Jack Spectra?
It might be
Spectra.
Spectra.
Yeah,
Yes.
because if he called himself Skepta, that would be cool.
No, but I know who Skepta is, sorry.
Because I'm a big fan of the grime music scene.
Yes.
I
Well,
love grime music.
Trevor introduced me to Spectra last year, actually.
To Spectra or Skepta?
Oh, fuck me. Okay. Trevor introduced me to Skepta last year.
Okay, okay.
Because he went to a music festival I can't remember the name of, and they listened
Okay.
to Skepta.
Oh, Skepta is a G. I like Skepta. It's just this is I don't know. This is just my stereotype. I think of Britain. I think of Skepta. I think of
No.
God Save the Queen, The
I
Crown.
mean, God Save the Queen. Most people know God Save the Queen.
Yes, yes.
Skepta is probably not as famous.
Maybe Stormzy is he's
Yeah, Stormzy would be more famous.
yeah. The Vossi Bop is definitely bopping. It's taking over. So what music do you listen to, Medic?
And see, the
What's
thing
that
is,
reaction?
it's like whenever anyone says what music do you listen to, the obvious answer is a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
That's also the really bad answer to give.
But what's your go-to? What's your go-to? Like you have a playlist on Spotify or something?
Yeah, I have a my feel-good playlist is called Workout Actual Hand Selected, and I'll tell you what's on that if you want.
Okay.
It has What's Up Danger by Blackway from the Spider-Man soundtrack. Shut Up and Dance by Walk the Moon.
Okay.
Radioactive by Imagine Dragons.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Very good song. I've got, who else have I got on here? Panic at the Disco, Scouting for Girls, Mumford and Sons, Metro Station.
Okay.
That
is a bit of everything.
Yeah, MIA, KDA, Three Doors Down, Aviva, DJ Khalil.
DJ Khalil, is this some DJ Khaled knockoff?
No, so it's a song called Elevate by Denzel Curry, DJ Khalil, and YBN Corday.
Okay.
It's good. But yes, I think I avoid metal, but I like pretty much everything else.
Okay. I think that's usually the trend. It's like everyone listens to a bit of everything. They have a go-to, and then there's one that you kind of stay away from.
Yeah, I think indie rock, indie pop is probably where I sit mostly.
Okay.
But if I'm going out to a club, I want techno. So.
Yeah, of course. The mood matters. If I'm playing League and I really want to win, then some lo-fi chill music that isn't overbearing is good. If I want to run it down and just test limits, you just go for some metal, some Disturbed.
I can see that. I like EDM, house, a bit of garage when I want to be excitable.
Garage.
Lord of the Rings soundtracks are good as well.
Yes.
Anything with huge instrumentals, a lot of bass, hit me.
Okay. So now I prepared some. I looked into your Instagram. I mentioned this at the beginning, and I went deep because a very similar reaction to when I asked you about your music. So let's start here. I found this wonderful picture of you with this cute baby.
Where? Oh yes. Okay, so this would be the picture in India.
This is in India.
Yeah.
Holy moly!
I went on an elective in my 4th year of med school.
Okay.
So do you want me just to tell you the story of the
picture? Tell me the story. Tell me what emotions this awakens.
Yeah, I went on an elective in the 4th year of med school back to the place I used to live, and we were there for a month in the hospital. This is the first baby I ever delivered.
Holy moly, man!
Yeah, I'm doing what's called an APGAR score on the child, and it's a score out of 10. Oh no, out of 5. Is it out of 5 or out of 10? Anyway, it's scoring to see if the child is healthy when they're born.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Holy. How did it feel?
Oh mate, it felt great.
Life.
Really cool. Really cool. I know.
My goodness.
Yeah, it was slightly marred because it was in the same month. We had a patient come in who'd been caught off by floods and so hadn't been able to come in, and she gave birth to a stillborn. It was
Oh.
so that was that. The one you see there is the first live baby I ever delivered, and the other
Oh.
one was the first baby I ever delivered. So
Oh wow.
yeah, it was tough month.
Yeah, shit, man. That is, I guess that's something that I would never be able to imagine. You know, the stress of being a doctor and the pressure.
Yeah, I mean
That's
that's why I left, right? And it's like there are times when you do things wrong, and there are times when there's just nothing you can do. And even
yeah.
though that was a time when I did literally nothing wrong, it was
Mm.
still you just feel so much for someone who has to go through that. Imagine being that mother, right? It must be so incredibly difficult.
Holy moly, man.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
that's crazy,
sorry for
man.
bringing the mood down like that.
No, no, no.
Yeah,
This is reality, right? This is like I'm genuinely, you know, for me, I think it's easy to forget the realities of a lot
yeah,
of things sometimes. I
that's
think,
true.
you know, it just makes me appreciate doctors even more, you know.
Yeah,
And
you should.
I feel very safe at the studio, you know. Being around you, if I skydive, I know that
Oh yeah,
the numbers will
I
go
can cure
down, you know.
skydiving injuries. That's fine. Easy as, easy as.
Just pull my legs out of my torso if I
Yep.
if I
It's the
land.
most common skydiving injury in the world. It's torsus legius, I believe we call it. Yeah.
Is that another character for?
Oh yes, yes. Just cut off his top half. It's just legius.
Okay, okay. So the next one I had in mind was this one, you know, because I saw the baby here, and since you spent some time now with Trevor, I like this picture because I like the comment as well.
Oh yeah.
People say that you look like Benedict Cumberbatch, which is a good thing, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I
It's a
was
very good thing. He's a handsome man. You're a handsome man yourself, so
yeah.
it's
I'm
fitting.
still very debated. Like, I'm not sure on the beard. I think it looks slightly strange because I get ginger around my goatee and then
Okay.
brown up at the sides, and my hair is naturally brown.
Mm.
So I don't think I'm ever going to grow that beard back.
Really?
Yeah, it just looks very strange.
Okay, you could just spray paint it or something. I don't know what
I mean,
people do
I
nowadays.
believe there's hair dye because it is hair, so you could just hair dye it.
Of
Maybe.
course.
I'm still not sure. I prefer to go for like stubble, but without a fully grown beard.
Mm. Because this
And
must be,
Appa, yes, Appa's
you
very
know,
cute.
the experience of, you know, I have two cats, right?
Yes.
And how they grow, how fast they grow is crazy.
Yeah.
Like Appa was, well, like what, this was how many, like a year
This is
ago?
8 months ago.
8 months ago?
Yeah, maybe nine. Wait, April. What are we in now? February, March. 10 months ago.
10 months ago?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And look how
She's
tiny he
like
is.
she's
Oh,
beefy
she,
now.
sorry.
She yeah. But yeah, she's a nightmare. She's lovely, and she's just so needy. And when I was looking after her when Trevor and Becca weren't here, it was just very. I realized that I didn't want to get a dog by myself. I need someone else there if I'm going to do it because I can't do it by myself.
I've been very fortunate that, like, in the last two, so in Vitality, both managers we had a dog, and the dog was
Okay.
just spending time. So I got to enjoy the good parts, like
Okay.
I greeted the dog every morning, petted
Yeah.
it, and you
Yeah.
know,
5 minute
spent
and
5 minutes, 10 minutes with it. No walks, no picking up shit,
yeah.
no feeding. You know, this is
Oh, I
it's
love the walks. It's just yeah, the shit and the feeding and the waking up to whining at the door. That's what
mm,
gets me. So when it interrupts my sleep, that's when I can't deal with things. I find.
I'm such a deep sleeper that, you know, it's like when the cats are complaining. Usually, like they legit just walk up on my head and they meow and meow and meow, you know, and it just doesn't work. My
Wow.
girlfriend wakes up though, and she gets angry that I don't wake up, so she wakes me. And
Yeah, but well, I mean that is slightly unfair because if she's awake anyway, why do you need to share in the misery? At least one of you should be well rested.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
as sharing the misery, there's something good for the relationship in that.
Maybe this is why I don't have a girlfriend right now.
The misery is all hers.
Yeah.
Huh? And the next picture I had in mind was this one, because this one is quite cool. I like this one because uh, this, you know, I looked at the journey, you know, and you talked about your journey, and then I think it's ex scoundrel there
That's
on the right.
Yeah, that's a scoundrel.
It's your boy. What what thoughts do you get when you look at this picture?
I'm currently trying to work out what it was from. I'm gonna say this was from the Vainglory World Championship
Okay.
in 2017. Holy mo! I was such a baby. Oh, I'm so young. Look at me. That's only that's less than 3 years ago. So I'd done two splits of Challenger Series at that point. But I look so childish.
So Dr. Chamberlain in this picture, did he know? Did he know where he would be today?
I don't think so. I think so. In this picture, I probably would have known that I was coming to Berlin.
Okay.
Because if you look at the caption, it actually says now it's time for Christmas and then a new adventure in the new year. So I think I'm trying to tease the fact that I'm going to Berlin.
Holy.
But yeah, I can't believe it, man. Oh,
that is hype, man.
I don't think he would recognize the person I am today. I think he'd realize, like, he would know that I could have got to where I am, but my personality and how I've changed in the last couple of years is pretty intense. So.
It's very fun to do this with like, for example, me looking back at your picture was very fun, but I'm too scared to do it on myself, man. I don't want to, man.
one of these days you'll get someone to do it for you.
I hope not. I
definitely have to do it.
And then the last one that I brought up, because
okay, you've got one more.
The natural progression was this one, the natural progression, because this one I think is very significant because it's very symbolic.
Yeah. First day I worked with Riot, so that's like 2 weeks between those two photos. Yeah.
So this was this the announcement for you?
This was so. I think there would have been the Twitter announcement. I would have cared about more. I think.
Okay.
But this was me putting it on Instagram and saying, "Hey, it's really cool. It's happening. I'm excited."
I love the branding with the Coca-Cola there, man.
Thanks. Yeah, very important. Go get those sponsors in.
And the fidget spinner. Is that a fidget spinner?
Yeah, it's a fidget spinner. It was given to me on my first day. That's why it's there.
Holy, you were ahead of your time, man. This was.
I know it.
This was 2 years ago.
This is 2018. Definitely fidget spinners have been around by then.
Okay.
I think 2016 was peak fidget spinner.
Really?
I'm okay. I'm gonna look it up.
It feels like it was so recent, no?
Fidget. Here we are. Peak fidget spinner.
Peak fidget spinner.
So people have done studies of when the peak fidget spinner timing was.
Okay.
Middle of 2017.
Oh.
It peaked between 20th of April and about the 29th of July, and then just died down.
Holy.
Interesting.
I feel bad because I gave it as a Christmas gift to someone this year.
Well, you're miles behind the time.
It's like it's the boyfriend of my girlfriend's aunt, and I just know that I like him a lot. I love him, but we don't spend too much time together. And I know he loves the Raiders, so I just buy him Raiders merch. And there was a Raiders fidget spinner, so I just went for it.
Yeah. It's a good idea.
I think it's legit. He was happy. He was spinning around with it. Do
you want to see a really interesting graph, Yamato?
Show me.
I'm going to send you an incredibly interesting graph. Here we are.
Okay.
This graph tracks someone's. So it's a country's GDP, so their gross domestic product per capita, and when they stopped using fidget spinners or stopped talking about fidget spinners. And as you can see, the richer the country is, the sooner fidget spinners, they left fidget spinners or they stopped talking about them so much. But if you're in a poorer country, the fidget spinners trickle down towards you. And
this is you, man. This is you. Just you have contacts in India still. You're selling fidget spinners.
But exactly, that's the thing, isn't it? Right? They get mass made and produced for the capitalist, highly commercial Western audiences in general, and then they get shipped away to India and Bangladesh and Venezuela.
Oh, okay, interesting.
I just thought
oh, okay. Hello.
Hello. Discord died.
Oh.
I thought it was very interesting. So
that's pretty cool. Yeah. Is it because the product, as you said, is just dies off, and then it's like they have a stock, and then it's just just here you go, poorer countries, you get it for a
It's
cheaper
like
price.
Super Bowl jerseys, right? Like they ship off all the ones they don't need, send it away like
Oh,
for the winning team.
is that what you see? Like if you're watching like Slumdog Millionaire, everyone is like in a Cristiano Ronaldo shirt.
Yeah, because they just all the old ones, they just ship them away. No one's gonna buy an old Cristiano Ronaldo shirt. Yeah, I've got this year's one. Got to have next year's one. You know.
Like I think like Real Madrid and Barcelona like dresses half of the poor population of the
Yep.
Eastern world. You know, it's
Liverpool's quite big on it these days
oh
as well.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
It's a good business.
Yep.
My goodness. Okay, brother, we talked for 1.5 hours. It feels like
Okay.
5 minutes.
Yeah, it's been really good. Thank you.
This has been very, very interesting. I learned super much.
Super much.
Honestly, yeah. It's incredible how I threw the most random shit at you, and with Google at hand, you're ready to prepare.
Yeah, with Google at hand was important, I think, for some of the questions.
But to be honest, at this point, everyone has Google at hand, so
Exactly.
it's like everyone has it. You know, it's just a question of time before our mobile phones just get injected to our heads, and we
Yeah.
no longer have something there. I know that Elon Musk is working on something, but
It's the hope.
I'm gonna wait until And speaking of percentages, I'm waiting on the deep end. You know, I'm not. That's
Okay.
not 5% for me, man. I don't want a SIM card in my head.
How deadly would it have to be before you were willing to have a computer injected into your head?
I don't know if it's like the deadliness part. I don't know if that's like my main concern. It's more about like the invasiveness.
Okay.
I guess it's weird to me already. Like sometimes when I like I have an Android like a Pixel, and sometimes you just talk. I guess it's the same with Siri, and it's just like, oh, did you need something? So it's like this my phone is just listening to me all the time.
Yeah.
So that's spooky. Now that's like maybe it's my ego talking, because it's not like I have some like company secrets or like this is
but
the
still,
secret
like,
recipe to Coca-Cola or something. But it's just something weird about
yeah,
not
it
being
definitely is.
alone, right?
It's like when you talk about something and you see adverts for it the next day.
Yeah.
Pretty sure I never typed that anywhere, but
That one is giga spooky.
yeah.
That one I don't like. Is there anything else, Medic, that you want to bring up? Is there something that you want to plug?
My good man. Oh well, yeah. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, MedicCasts, and on
Nice.
Twitch if you want to. I'll probably stream at some point.
Nice.
Nice.
I like it.
Nice. And watch the LEC.
Yeah, watch the LEC on twitch.tv/LEC.
Yeah, that's the one.
I think everyone's heard it a million times by now, huh? I wanted to ask, wait. Last thing. You play support, right?
I do, yes.
You play support. You mentioned Rakan, but I've seen you play Thresh.
I do. I used to main Thresh. I haven't mained him for a while.
And now you main Rakan.
Well, I mained Rakan last year. This year I've mained Leona so far because she's
good man. You just follow the meta. That's what I'm hearing.
I play, if it's engaged and it's in meta, I'll play it.
Nice.
But I don't play enchanters.
And then my follow up was this was important to me. I remember just now. What are the most fun champions to cast for you?
Oh, okay. Okay, so I think there's different types of fun in casting. Okay. I love watching Zed because there's always the possibility of an outplay, and that's really interesting to me, right? And the outplay is always like he's dashing all over the screen, just doing crazy things. But then having champions with big teamfight changing ultimates is really good as well. Okay. So like an Orianna is always really easy to cast. A really good Rakan is fun to cast. A Pike is fun to cast. Like these things that you can see a single moment of, they dunked on them because of that thing, right? The things I don't like as much, like Ornhorn is a little bit meh. Although it's like big and obvious, it's kind of like
it's been too much.
And now he knocks him up, right? Zaya I really dislike as well because it's like, oh, they're gonna kill. Oh no, she just jumped up and now she pulls the things back, and I like things to be a little bit unpredictable. I like to be surprised. By the play.
Well, there's something about the champions that you mentioned that by design there's something so satisfying by how it looks. Yeah. Like the Pike ultimate, when you get like a reset, it feels fucking good. Yeah. It feels fucking good. Or like an Orianna shockwave. There's the sound. It's juicy. Darius as well, as you mentioned. Yeah. I'm with you. I can see the connection. Okay, Dr. Chamberlain. It's been an absolute pleasure, man.
Thank you so much, my man.
All the best to you, brother.
Been a
I
joy.
will
You too.
post this online hopefully tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll see you this weekend.
Yeah, I'll see you this weekend. Let me just stop recording and then we'll wrap it up.